Hey y'all, welcome to the Throttle the Floor podcast. I'm your host, Will Earnest, here today with my guest, Bernardo Mendez.
How you doing?
Yeah, it's the first time he's been back here in a couple months, but kind of a late episode tonight. This is being recorded like Tuesday night, but we're going to get right into it with NASCAR at Watkins Glen. And first I want to talk a little bit about the Xfinity race on Saturday. First of all, prayers and condolences to Connor Zilic after that nasty fall from the top of his car after he won the Xfinity race on Saturday. His 6th win of the season, his 4th win in the last 5 races. He broke his collarbone, and he posted on X or Twitter that he got surgery on his broken collarbone this morning. We don't really know the kind of timetable of when he's going to be back, whether he's going to be back in a couple weeks for the Xfinity race at Daytona or later than that, but it's so glad that it was not a head or neck injury, being that Victory Lane's basically just like painted concrete, and it looked like he smashed his head, and I mean that's why they kind of put him in a neck brace and on a backboard and took him out of Victory Lane for precautionary measures, but lucky that it was just a broken collarbone. But yeah, and I also want to talk about the big wreck with Austin Hill causing another big wreck. At first we all kind of thought it was intentional, but I mean, sure, he could have braked on the straightaway when he was exiting the carousel, coming towards that like kink out in the barrier that's on the straightaway between the carousel and heading to turn 6. But it reminds me of late in the race at Indianapolis in the Cup race with Bell and Zane Smith. It's just a racing deal. And Eldon Sawyer went on SiriusXM NASCAR radio to kind of talk about this, but you know, it's just kind of a racing deal. And he just came off of a suspension the previous week for Xfinity at Iowa for right rear hooking Almirola at the end of Indianapolis for that Xfinity race. So,
No, yeah, with the braking and everything, it looked like it from the video exactly, because as Wilke told you, I was gone for a while. Wasn't really up to date with everything.
Yeah, I felt
the way he turned too, he could have like braked right there. He had enough time to. It's just that's why it looked very, very intentional.
Regardless, it's a bad look. It's a very bad look, and
that camera made it look like a bad look too.
The camera angle did not help either. But I mean, Xfinity's going to Daytona in a couple weeks, which I mean, you know, we know that Hill and honestly RCR has been dominating the Xfinity series with super speedways as of late, but Daytona is Daytona, so you know, and we've seen some brutal crashes at Daytona, at least in all series, but more particularly to me, you know, the Cup cars, but you know, with Priest's couple of flips, and also when Blaney got hooked into the wall, I think it was the summer of 23, I believe, when he went head on into the wall in turn 4. So, but Daytona is Daytona, and Hill might just cause more mayhem.
Yeah, because I thought it was another thing too, because he was like that caused even bigger collision.
Yeah.
Like you said,
that was like a 16 car.
Yeah, 16 cars.
Yeah. I remember Ryan Ellis's windshield and all that was like caved in, and it's a bad look and it's a bad deal, but
they're possibly calling it that was not intentional anyways. They're looking deeper into it at the moment as we speak.
Yeah, we'll see. Getting into, I guess kind of in general, they moved the restart zone back where it was on the front stretch, and they moved it back before turn 7 so that they would fire off, you know, for the restart in turn 7, which the goal of that was to space them out heading downhill on the front stretch towards turn 1. And we did not have, I mean, we had contact in turn 1, but we didn't have any crazy, like, full sends in the turn 1 either, and so...
Not as bad as we thought, so it kind of helped out a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. It's been pretty consistent with other road courses. I think of, like, they did it at Coda, where they kind of had the restart zone, like, before turn 20, so that you wouldn't have as bad of calamity up at that tight uphill, the hairpin or whatever, and at the top of the hill in turn 1, because that's been producing some bad stuff.
But yeah, because with that, we saw some, like, as we were saying when I was watching the video, we see some touches, but it was literally keeping everybody in a safer position throughout the whole race, and giving everybody a good placement throughout the whole thing.
Really the big thing with turn 1 was Larson had a brake seal issue, or he had a brake issue, which was later to be found to be a brake seal. But at first we thought he had no brakes, but he had enough brake to spin out and get kind of slowed down, but that pretty much took him out of the race. Although officially not. He went to the garage and got it fixed. He was like 15 laps down, but kind of like how he did at Mexico, where in Mexico he got caught up in that wreck with like Allmendinger and Kyle Busch and all them, which Bernardo knows all too well about that, and that he picked Kyle Busch for that race.
Kind of upset, but yeah. No, because with the brake, they even checked. It wasn't just the brakes that were messed up too. It was
Yeah, but regardless, it was kind of just like in Mexico, Larson set the fastest lap, so he got that extra point for the championship, which last year he lost the regular season championship by 1 point, and
the point is gonna matter.
Yeah, and even late in the season, like when it's possible that somebody could go out and set the Xfinity fastest lap, and that could get them into the next round of the playoffs. So we shall see. But I want to talk more about kind of like the playoff cut line, being that the playoffs are now 2 races away. Richmond on Saturday, and then Daytona the following Saturday. Really kind of, you have Reddick, who's like about 2 races up on the cut line. He will get in as long as he doesn't have like a super large collapse, and we don't have like 2 new winners. So highly unlikely, but still possible he falls out. And then you got Bowman, who's like 6 years so above, and then the cut line battle currently is between Buescher and his teammate Ryan Preece. They came in like I think 23 points separated, but even though they both scored good stage points, Chris Buescher, he won stage 1 and finished 3rd, so he extended that cut line advantage to like 34 points. Beyond that, everybody's like 100 plus points back. So like beyond that, everybody else has to win one of these final 2 races to get in. Which I mean last year we saw Austin Dillon commit like 2 counts of vehicular manslaughter to win the Richmond race. It didn't count towards the playoffs, but the only reason really, he had that race won until that caution with 2 to go to set up overtime. So he would have won that race anyways. I don't know. It was an ugly deal, but
both the races are going to be very hectic. I just know that.
And then Daytona's Daytona.
I was going to say Daytona's going to be.
Daytona is Daytona.
That's like vehicle manslaughter heaven.
Something. But the only caution that we had for incident today, which I thought was a nice, refreshing after the drama with the truck race and the Xfinity race. The only caution we had for incident was Josh Berry. He got sent into the wall by Ty Dillon coming out of the carousel, and even though he hit the wall, he managed to get back going. But the caution was for debris, and we had drama and we had contact and we had a couple more spins.
He even had another collision not even later into the race, and they didn't even call caution.
But to me it's refreshing, being that sure, to some people it's boring, SVG winning by 11 seconds, no cautions, no beating and banging, but sometimes you just have to have races that are just straightforward, and this race was pretty quick. It only lasted like just over 2 hours from green flag to checker flag, but it's rare to kind of see just another chill race. Now, does that mean the racing product was good? No, it really was not. But that's not the fault of SVG dominating, or that's not the fault of, we didn't have 8 cautions because of people diving 3 wide into turn 1. That's not the problem. The problem is the car. Because, you get into that dirty air and you can't close up. You can't pass all that well. It's hard to do all that stuff. And combine that with these rear view cameras, it's very easy to defend and mirror block, or I guess camera block, and also use that dirty air to easily be able to defend. It's been a bigger issue at other tracks such as Dover. Hamlin's now won 2 years in a row at Dover using that same thing with the camera. But I don't know what it is with these short tracks and these road courses. It's just NASCAR tried to say it was Goodyear's problem, and Goodyear has, they've brought new tires, they've brought softer tires, they've brought harder tires, they've brought new left sides, new right sides, all 4 new tires. They've brought they've put down PJ1 or whatever. Nothing has seemed to work. I mean, the intermediate tracks are good, and that's really the sweet spot. But I think NASCAR is finally starting to realize that the issue, or at least a possible issue, is the horsepower. The horsepower is just not there. I mean, you go back to Iowa last week, the ARCA cars out-qualified and ran faster than the Cup cars, which is just crazy to think about. And, Xfinity did too. So, when you have a fourth tier series, out-qualifying you on a semi-weekly basis now, because I think they just about almost did it again here at Watkins Glen this weekend. Like clearly the issue is horsepower. And, I'm not saying bring it back, like a decade ago where they had 900 horsepower, but, at least take it to 750, or at least just try
to be
more
closer.
Horsepower. Try and add more horsepower and see if that fixes the problem.
They'll bring, I was saying, even though it's going to be shorter, probably even shorter, like laps and races and everything, it's still going to be more hectic and bring more attention to like races, because seeing that they have that horsepower added, it's going to, a lot of people are going to be surprised coming back in, because like you said, don't bring it up back so high because it's going to become hectic, but bring it back to enough that we can literally like stand racing. Yeah,
and I mean, they've tried new tire compounds, they've tried different aero packages, they've tried different compounds on the track itself, and even just in general, they've tried moving tracks around, different dates throughout the year. Like Dover this year got moved from late April to July. They've tried moving dates around. They tried moving times around. Like Iowa this year was a day race. It was in like the afternoon. It's just nothing is working. And I'm not saying that horsepower might be the end-all solution, but it's really the one major thing that we just haven't tried yet and haven't had a crack yet. So, I mean, but if ARCA cars are out qualifying, the best drivers in the world, or at least the best motorsports drivers in America or whatever,
that should be saying something.
Yeah, really
saying a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously these ARCA guys are younger and whatnot, and I mean, like, there was a 15-year-old that won the ARCA race at the Glen this past weekend. So,
with people with more experience too.
I mean, that's crazy in itself, but I mean, if ARCA cars can out-qualify and are faster at certain tracks, or at least close to the Cup cars, then there's an issue, and it needs to be addressed and fixed. But it's kind of just like the playoffs, where, we thought we were going to get more horsepower. We thought we were going to get a new playoff format for next year, and now it's sounding like we're not going to get either in for next year, being that, they haven't found a proper way to initiate, the increased horsepower in time for next year. And in addition, NASCAR wants like NBC and the TV partners, that pay a lot of the money, because TV money is like the major money that funds this whole operation, but they want them to have a say. And between NASCAR and the TV partners, or I guess in this case NBC and USA, and the playoff committee that NASCAR initiated, they can't figure out a solution either. I don't want to say NASCAR's just sitting around and not doing nothing, because they're not. They're trying, but I don't know. They need to agree at some point to figure out, how can we get more horsepower? How can we get a more legitimate playoff format that's still entertaining?
And stop blaming others for their actions.
Exactly. SVG wins his 4th race of the season, getting back to Watkins Glen specifically. He gets redemption for last year at the Glen. If you remember last year, this race was September in the playoffs, but Buscher made a pass on SVG last lap in the bus stop to take the lead away from him and take the win. 4 wins is the most wins ever for a rookie season in NASCAR history. It breaks that tie with Tony Stewart in 1999 and Jimmy Johnson in 2002. So I find that interesting. Bell finishes 2nd after passing Buscher, who finished 3rd in the bus stop on the last lap, just like Buscher passed SVG for the win last year. So Byron finished 4th, so he extends his regular season championship lead. And I don't want to say that fight is over, but 2 weeks ago we had Elliott, Byron, Larson, and Hamlin all within 20 points of that. And keep in mind, Hamlin was 20 points back, and that was because, and even then that was after he missed the race at Mexico for the birth of his child. But now, I mean, Byron leads by like 40, 41, 42 points over Chase Elliott, and then after that, it's like over a race back to Larson and Bell and Hamlin and some of these other guys with only 2 races left. So it's not impossible for Byron to lose the regular season championship, but it's looking more and more certain, because, I mean, he just finished 4th at the Glen, and he won the previous week at Iowa, whereas, Chase Elliott has just been kind of, I mean, he finished 14th at Iowa, and today he had his top 20 streak, which he had top 20s for every race this year, and even going back to the very end of last year, but he finished 26th today, which Chase Elliott at Watkins Glen, it's been kind of his playground in recent years, so finishing just 26th. He didn't qualify good. I think he qualified 26th and finished 26th. I think he qualified 20th, whatever. He didn't qualify good. Sure, he got good stage 1 points, but that's because he's on a different strategy. He had a bad pit stop because the fuel in the car, he basically tripped and whatnot. So he had a slow pit stop. And that was when he was pitting under green right before the Barry debris caution. So, and then he just kind of got off cycle in strategy and just didn't end up all that well. But, it is what it is. Briscoe with another top 5. He's had 4 top 5s now in the last 5 races, including 3 runner-ups. We'll see if that can convert to another win. Who knows? Blaney 6th after leading 35 laps from the pole. That was the most laps led until SVG led 38. Yeah,
38.
Yeah, he led 38, which was the most laps led today. Blaney had 35 from the pole, so pretty close there. Suarez 7th. I want to talk about Suarez for a minute. That was a pretty good run, It's likely that Connor Zolj is going to replace him at Trackhouse. We know Suarez isn't coming back to Trackhouse, so, whether he ends up at a top ride at an Xfinity team like Junior Motorsports, or he ends up finding, I don't know, some ride at Colleague or, whatever cup team, wherever he ends up, this is another good run, another shot in the arm that might just get him another ride, because he's trying to prove himself, over these last 10 to 12 races of the season.
So, this last race, he was doing pretty good. He was back for a while.
Yeah.
At the back, and then moved up to, was it 7th place?
Finished 7th, yeah.
Yep.
So.
It started, was at 8 until, almost at the end of the race, and then got to 7.
Yeah. Bubba and Reddick finished 8th and 9th. Bubba's usually not good on road courses, but he's really improved on those as of late. he's also been pretty good lately, on a nice little hot streak after winning at Indianapolis a few weeks ago, and Chastain was 10th. So this was actually the first time in team history that Trackhouse had all three of their cars in the top 10. Of course, you had SVG winning, and then Suarez in 7th and Chastain in 10th. And SVG now with 4 wins, that ties Hamlin for the most wins this season. Of course, SVG has wins at Mexico, Chicago, Sonoma, and now the Glen. He's the first driver since Chase Elliott in 2020 to win 4 road course races in a row. And I saw this stat. It was pretty interesting. It's the first time ever in NASCAR history that we've had 2 races in a row, which, is Iowa and Watkins Glen, that there's been no DNFs. Larson had that brake seal issue, but he managed to fix that in the garage and come back out and finish the race. So I find that interesting. Getting to our picks, I picked SVG. Of course, he won the race, led the most laps. Evan picked Allmendinger, who scored some good stage points, finished 11th. Zach picked Blaney, who led 35 laps from the pole to finish 6th. Mason picked Briscoe, who finished 5th. Haley and Bernardo picked Chase Elliott, who did not have a good day, finishing 26th, as mentioned. Colin from Dairy Queen, he picked Bell, who finished 2nd. And Stacy, a.k.a. my girlfriend Haley's mom, picked Suarez, who ended up 7th. Kind of up and down. A lot of our picks did pretty good. I say a lot of them, but...
Targeted much.
All right. Points-wise, I lead now by 26 points over Evan. It's the largest points gap that me and Evan had, because me and Evan have been 1 and 2 in points since Texas, 3 months ago, back in May.
And
it's
4.
But it's the largest points gap that we've had since I led by 53 points after Nashville, and that was over 2 months ago. So it's been really tight as of late in the points, but stretching out a little bit. Haley's 157 back, Mason's 199 back, Zach's 223 back, and then we get to the part-timers, including Bernardo, who has 173 points.
Hey, I'm a busy man.
Yes. Hey, I'm not saying much. You've at least been consistent with picking.
Yeah, I've been very consistent with picking.
Yes. I think the 9 races that you've picked, I think it's been all 9 of those, I think.
Yeah, I've had, some good placements for some picks.
Well, you won with SVG at Chicago.
And pole.
Yeah. So, you have some good runs, but you also have 3 DNFs, so...
Mix and match.
Up and down, but... Okay. Moving on to IndyCar. They were in Portland this weekend. Really kind of the championship battle. It came down between Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward, although Alex Palou had a pretty good shot of clinching the championship coming into the race. Pato O'Ward had a pretty good run going until he stalled on pit road before getting to his pit box, and that basically cost him the championship. He was 5 laps down, so pretty much as long as Alex Palou didn't wreck, he was going to win the championship, and he didn't wreck. He almost got shoved into a wreck, but yeah, it was a pretty good battle there towards the end of the race with Will Power and initial pole sitter Christian Lundgaard, who won the pole Saturday, but because he made an engine change, he had to actually start 7th, so it was O'Ward starting first. They had slightly different tire strategies, but even though Will Power had used soft tires instead of new sticker soft tires, Will Power managed to hang on. Got the first win for Penske this year. Penske has had a really bad season in IndyCar, and Penske almost had their first winless. It was looking like they're going to have their first winless season since 1999, but Will Power wins. It was his first win since the same Portland race, but last year. It was his 45th career win. Lundgaard finished 2nd, and Palou finished 3rd after Lundgaard shoved him off in the dirt, motocross style, but Palou was able to hang on to it. And even though he finished 3rd, he clinched and wins his 4th championship overall, and his 3rd in a row, including, and all 4 of those are within the last 5 years, which is just crazy to think about. IndyCar has 2 races left this season. In a couple weeks, they have Milwaukee at the Milwaukee Mile, and then they have Nashville for the season finale the week after. Of course, the championship's already locked up, but I mean, we can, we'll find out who gets whatever point positions after that. Heading on to local news now, or I guess I say local. The Knoxville Nationals, aka like the biggest sprint car event in the whole world. It's funny because everybody always thinks that it's like, what is it, Knoxville, Tennessee? No, it's Knoxville, Iowa. But what's crazy is the rookie, an 18-year-old Ryan Timms. He dominated the 64th Knoxville Nationals. He did all 50 laps from the pole, which was just kind of crazy. Larson, he kind of had an okay run going until he cut down a right rear tire. So, pretty unfortunate for Larson. But looking ahead now, NASCAR's back in Richmond this weekend. As we mentioned last year, Austin Dillon did some questionable things to win that race, but they did not count that towards playoff eligibility. NHRA is back this weekend. They're in Brainerd, Minnesota, getting close to their crown jewel, the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis, in a few weeks. IndyCar, as we mentioned, is off this weekend. There's only 2 more races left in their season. Picks for Richmond. I'm picking Briscoe. He's had 4 top 5s in the last 5 races, as we mentioned, including 3 runner-ups. He's been really good at tracks that Truex has been good at, such as, Sonoma, he finished 2nd. Dover, he finished 2nd. Watkins Glen, he finished 5th. And Richmond was another one of Truex's best tracks. So I feel really good about Briscoe there. Evan is picking Logano. Zach is picking Allmendinger. Haley's picking Hamlin, who won the spring race last year and was looking like he was going to win the fall race until Dillon right rear hooked him coming to the line. I mean, Logano was also looking like he was going to win that race too, but then he got spun out by Austin Dillon. And then Bernardo is picking Larson, who won the Richmond spring race in 23.
He's brung strong cars there all the time anyways, too, so it's been pretty good for him, so I might as well go for that best pick right there.
But that is all we got for this week's episode of the Throttle to the Floor podcast. Make sure you listen in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube on Chilwell Media. It's still just the audio files. It's whatever. I've been trying to get the video to work. We'll find out eventually. And then my photography and podcast content is just on Chilwell Media on Instagram. It's one account. So it's just kind of merged, I guess. But that's all we got for this week's episode of the Throttle to the Floor podcast. Thank you for Bernardo for showing up. He's got to go with his mom to go help laundry now.
Yeah.
At the laundry mat.
Sad day.
Yeah. But we'll see y'all next week. I'm in Kentucky this weekend. Get to see my girlfriend. Yay. Go do a few things. And I'm going to bring my camera with. But I'll still be, covering the races and all that. And, we'll be back here, Monday or Tuesday or whatever day. And we'll be recording next week. And we'll see what happens for Richmond. After Richmond, it's only one more race, being Daytona, until the Cup Series starts the playoffs, so getting down to it. And if you're wondering, our points here for the Throttle to the Floor podcast, it's not going to have a playoff format. It's season long. It's season long points, so that's not going to change there. But yeah, thank y'all for listening to this week's episode of the Throttle to the Floor podcast, and we will see y'all next weekend.